Val Emmons Show, where freedom is cool and political correctness is for sissies.
And that's me, Val Emmons. Sorry I've been out for a while. I was in a car accident, and it's kind of left me loopy, and I'm taking a chance right now broadcasting. Never know what I'm going to say in a regular day, but much less on muscle relaxers. But I'm kind of getting immune to them now. I really hate them, to be honest with you. I hate that I have to take them because they make you sleep, and that's not taking care of the problem. It's just making it go away for a little while. But anyway, so I'm all right. Thanks for the well wishes to everyone. There's a lot of stuff that we need to talk about, like the budget deal that won the final approval in the Senate today, that passed House last week, and now it's on its way to the president to sign. So Fox News reports that today the Senate approved the 2-year budget deal, sending it to President Obama's desk and slaving off the threat of a partial government shutdown, which we know didn't bode well the last time it happened. The bill cleared the Senate on a 64-36 vote. It passed despite the objections of the Republican senators to a provision that cuts billions from military retiree benefits. And I want to talk about that a little bit. I know everyone has made their opinions known on this, and I too would like to make my opinion known. I think it's ridiculous that we didn't cut entitlements, but we cut military families who basically give up their life for our freedom. These guys go over there, not all of them, but these guys, they train and expect that they're going to go if the call comes for them. And their wives, their families, their fathers, their mothers, their sisters, their brothers, their children are left behind when they go to worry about them. They're I'm sure worried about themselves, but they're separated from their family as well for long periods of time, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous that you would give more clout to people that are on food stamps and welfare than you would the people that actually do something for this country. I think it's sickening. I think we needed a budget deal, but I think that this needs to be looked at before I just think that this is absolutely the ridiculous part of it that people are in an uproar about. Let's see. It says, Fox goes on to say, it's not correct and it should not happen, Senator Jeff Sessions said of the cuts to veterans. Again, the majority of lawmakers, though, were eager to avoid another budget brawl 2 months after the last showdown. The bill earlier passed by the House on a strong bipartisan vote. The bill would set in place a spending plan for the next 2 years while undoing some of the sequester spending cuts. To the chagrin of fiscal conservatives, because they're all up in arms about that, and I am too. But we need to come to a consensus. It's hard for us to compromise. To me, this budget is like a unicorn because we haven't seen one since Obama took office. So it's probably the best we're going to get, and that's pretty sad. And I applaud Ryan and Murray for working so hard on this bill, but, what's up with the veterans thing, The bill would set in place spending for the next 2 years while undoing some of the sequester cuts. And it goes on to say the budget measures approved Wednesday would restore $45 billion, half the amount scheduled to be automatically cut from the 2014 operating budgets of the Pentagon and some domestic agencies, lifting them above $1 trillion. An additional $18 billion for 2015 would provide enough relief to essentially freeze spending at those levels for a year. The provision cutting the inflation increases of pension for military retirees under the age of 62 was perhaps the most unpopular. Members of the military are eligible to retire after 20 years at half pay. The provision was included in the bill at the direction of the House Budget Committee Chairman Paul Ryan. So that's kind of... Anyway, Sessions tried late Tuesday to push an amendment blocking those cuts, but he was stymied by Democrats on the floor. However, top Democrats said Wednesday they would revisit the change in military pensions before it takes effect in 2 years. They need to. How can Democrats block this? I mean, really, what kind of a person blocks a bill like this in favor of people to sit at home on their ass and do nothing, as opposed to someone who's out busting their ass for our country? That's what makes me angry. That's the part that makes me angry. Wow. So I want to make absolutely sure today that they know that a provision included in this deal that mistakenly included disabled retirees and survivors for changes in the pension growth will be addressed in short order following passage of the bill, Murray says. I think all of us know that our disabled veterans have made tremendous sacrifices for our nation and deserve the peace of mind that their benefits will not be adjusted under this compromise legislation. This technical error certainly can, should, and will be addressed. How's that a technical error? I really don't understand how it's a technical error when you purposely put it in to this bill that you wrote. I mean, I understand it's a loophole, but why would you pass the bill if it was brought to your attention? Why wouldn't you just change the bill, rewrite it, send it back to the House, and then send it back? Oh, because you didn't want to take a risk of the House not passing it after all the uproar that they did. Politics. Anyway, so that we're going to keep an eye on that. So Americans for a Balanced Budget wrote, while the Ryan-Murray budget deal offers some promise, its success still rests upon the ability of Washington to rein in spending for many government programs. Compromise in Washington these days is often unheard of, and much of the American public remains disenchanted with the progress on Capitol Hill. Congressman Ryan and Senator Murray have effectively moved the proverbial ball down the court, but may still wonder when Congress will take on tough issues like entitlement spending or creation of a balanced budget. So they go on to, you can go to their page, www.abbonline, and you can read more of their articles on this. So the winners. CNN put out this article this morning. The Murray-Ryan budget plan, which passed a key Senate vote Tuesday, punches away its weight. It passed the committee to go to the floor to be voted on. That's what they're talking about. Anyway, so the winners are the Pentagon. There are smiles among the camouflage. Thanks to Murray Ryan, the budget-cutting hatchet has been downsized to a knife. The deal reverses billions in budget cuts so that the military's discretionary budget will actually go up $2 billion next year over the budget cut amount this year. Also, after years of juggling unprecedented, unpredictable temporary spending bills, the 2-year budget deal allows generals and admirals to do something that is military 101, plan ahead. Federal employees win. 2 biggies. The deal slashes the chances of a shutdown in January on furloughs in 2014. And there's a bonus. A technical change in the bill allows federal workers who are married without kids to obtain health insurance under a new, cheaper Self+1 category. They currently have no option but single or family plans. Another winner is the needy. Head Start, Meals on Wheels, just about any federally funded program that directly serves the needy could benefit from the Murray-Ryan plan. How exactly the numbers will land is still unknown. And because the budget deal replaces the budget cuts from non-military programs, nonprofits are hopeful. This is good for us, Jenny Bertolet from the Meals on Wheels Association of America told CNN. Another benefit, as with the military, these programs will know their funding levels for 2 years and can do critical planning. So another big winner is the TSA in terms of they win increased security fees. The budget gives the agency more reliable funding so that they can, frisk Granny and make sure there's no bomb in the baby's diaper. Appropriators. Imagine Muhammad Ali in his prime with boxing gloves on, but forced to sit outside the ring. That's how the members of Congress Appropriations Committee has felt for years. Because we haven't had a budget in 5 years. Once considered to be some of the most powerful people in the Capitol, the lack of any long-term spending agreement has nearly cut them out of the process until now. The Murray-Ryan plan means appropriations are back on the canvas and will decide how to carve up more than $1 trillion agency by agency. America's reputation is also a winner. For 3 years, the world has watched the U.S. government limp from fiscal crisis to fiscal crisis. Although this doesn't avert the fiscal crisis, it is a picture that we can get along and have something in terms of some sort of a budget deal. It sends a message that, even a deeply divided Congress may be able to do its job and govern. Santa. No fiscal cliff, no health care debate. Santa and his sleigh can lift off any cable channel showing partisan bickering from the House Senate floor this year. That's what CNN says. So, losers, young, career military. This compromise deal will mean less retirement pay for military retirees younger than 62. Specifically, it cuts the annual cost of living adjustments to a level under inflation. So that's what everyone's in an uproar about, as they should be. New federal workers, you've got a government job. Woo! So how? But if you start that job after January 1st, this budget will cut your pay by 1.3%. That would be an increased mandatory contribution to the federal pension plan. The unemployed, the clock is ticking, but the budget agreement does nothing to address unemployment benefits, which expire this month for about 1.3 million Americans. Air travelers, you'll pay more to be safe. The plan boosts the TSA security fee to $5.60 for each one-way trip. Technically, airplanes pay the fee, but, just like everything else that we're trying to explain to you, when costs increase, they get passed on to the consumer. So a few companies have already admitted that the increases will probably be passed on to the consumer. Scammers and con artists are losers. The budget deal makes it harder for anyone to access and use Social Security numbers of dead people and prisoners. Think twice about trying to get an unemployment check. That's illegal. And this deal will make it harder for you to pull off that scam. Gas and the oil industry, 2 hits. The petroleum industry is set to lose $50 million dollars in research program, and a kind of backdoor moneymaker in which oil companies purposely overpay into the federal fund and gain higher than market interest payments from the government as a result. That's finny. That means finished. Wealthy federal contractors. This may be hard to believe, but right now federal law will pay up to $952,308 in salary for any single contract employee. The Murray Ryan budget deal would cut that down to $487,000. The years 2016 to 2023, while this budget deal significantly blunt force budget cuts, the sequester, set for the next 2 years, it would have those cuts at full power for the following 7 years. In addition, this bill adds a new set of forced budget cuts and a few extended fees, customer fees, for example, for 2022 and 2023. The long-term future of the U.S. Medicare, Social Security, these fiscal monsters may be silent now, but are set to rise over the next 2 decades to become huge financial threats to both the federal budget and the U.S. economy. This bill does not address the coming long-term problems with that. So, the last one, countdown clock producers. No shutdown would mean no countdown clock in January, though those who love them could look just a few weeks down the road in 2014 when the debt ceiling presents another fiscal deadline that we are going to have to look at. So, with that being said, I think that I'm glad to see that Congress actually took the initiative and actually passed the budget deal. But I don't understand why it took so long for them to do that. Why all of a sudden do you have to compromise now? Why? I don't understand why you have to compromise now. Why couldn't you do all this 5 years ago? It's not that hard to do. We wouldn't have all this hoopla. We wouldn't have to have continuing resolutions. I mean, stupid. It's absolutely stupid. But it's also driven folks, like our state representatives, to look at another way to pass an amendment to balance the budget. So I've written a blog, and I'm gonna start posting. I've posted one already, one response that I got from the Mount Vernon Constitutional the Mount Vernon December meeting regarding Convention of the States. I got some questions and answers from a couple of different people that attended that meeting, representatives of Arkansas. I also have some from other states that I'm going to post. I want to give it a chance for these other ones to soak in first. But I've been trying to fill you all in on this Convention of the States since the meeting, in which the Arkansas delegation that attended was State Representative Randy Alexander, State Representative Bob Ballinger, and Nate Bell, who is a state representative, and Senator Jason Raper, who is a state senator. As you may recall, this method is being called a constitutional convention by many who are in fear of opening the Constitution, just as they did in 1787 when the 13 states were to come together to amend the Articles of Confederation, only to scratch the articles in favor of our current U.S. Constitution. The Article 5 Amendment, which some believe will lead to a runaway convention and scrap our current Constitution, if proper process is not followed, does allow for a constitutional convention to be called by Congress to add amendments or remove amendments from the Constitution. It's important to note, however, that this process has never been used, as in the past Congress would typically bring forth an amendment before it comes to this. I feel it's my duty to give you the facts regardless of my own opinion, and so I'm doing just that on my blog. So you can go to www.valemmons.com and read the questions. The questions are simply, what was discussed as the main points of the meeting? What were the concerns of attendees? Were those concerns alleviated? I know the meeting's being scheduled. When is it going to be scheduled? Who paid for your trip? That's an interesting one you might want to take a look at. The state of Arkansas, you personally, the state of Arkansas, the representative personally, or an outside organization. Several of them actually responded to my questions, and yet I've not heard from Jason Rapert or Nate Bell, and even after I prodded them today. Well, actually, I asked Jason Rapert if he was going to answer my questions, or should I just put him on the record for no comment? So I'm thinking that he's going to be a no commenter, as is Nate Bell, which I hate that, because I thought I had a really good working relationship with both of them, even though we disagree on issues. But, if you don't want to talk about how you got to this meeting, then you don't want to answer that question. Other folks can answer it for you. And then it'll be up to you to clean it up afterwards. I think that hiding from your state citizens regarding this issue, I'm not I'm not either one of their constituents. So, but I'm not Representative Alexander's constituent either. Neither am I a Ballinger's constituent. So they answered me. They didn't have a problem talking to me. Neither did some other states have a problem talking to me. And I'm going to fill this in piece by piece, because this is not anything that's pressing right now. But it is pressing because we need to take a look at it, but right now they're just talking. And so Representative Alexander's response back to me is pretty lengthy. It's very informative, and doesn't change my mind that this is a bad idea. However, it does shed some light on the process in which they're looking at, and I think that any intelligent person needs to not listen to Mark Levin and then say he's the end-all be-all. You need to get out off your butt, or sit on your butt, read Google it. There's lots of ways that you can research things on your own instead of just saying, well, Mark Levin said, because first of all, this whole idea right here is not even based on Mark Levin's idea. It was based on another idea they've been pulling this together before his book, The Liberty Amendment, was even written. I just think that it's time that people take another look at what is, going on in this country instead of listening to everyone else. Speaking of what's going on in this country, the White House, Obama panel recommends new limits on NSA spying. A panel of presidential advisors who reviewed the National Security Agency's surveillance practices urged President Obama on Wednesday, that's today, to end the government's systematic collection of logs of all American phone calls and to keep those in private hands for queries and data mining only by court order. In more than a 300-page report made public by the White House, the group of 5 intelligence and legal experts also strongly recommended that any operation to spy on foreign leaders would have to pass a rigorous test that weighs the potential economic or diplomatic cost of the operation becomes public. The decision to monitor those communications, it said, should be made by the president. No, it shouldn't. You shouldn't be monitoring people in that manner unless they're committing crimes. By the president and his advisors, not the intelligence agency. So Valerie Jarrett could order a communication be monitored on someone maybe she didn't like? No, I don't think that's how it should be either. And just to note, this was just found to be, unconstitutional. And I wanted to point out that our Congressman Tom Cotton voted to keep you being surveilled by the NSA. I just want to point that out there. I'm just saying. I don't understand. He seems to think this is helping the soldiers and the troops, but I don't understand how spying on regular Americans that are sitting in their home doing nothing but playing video games is helping our troops. I mean, I think the money that we spend billions of dollars on the NSA could help our troops with their retirement, don't you? Anyway, the panel also declared that the NSA should cease efforts to undermine work to create secure encryption standards to protect confidential communications and data stored on the remote cloud servers, and make clear that it will not in any way subvert, undermine, weaken, or make vulnerable generally available commercial encryption. It also said the United States should get out of the business of secretly collecting flaws in common computer programs and using them for mounting cyber attacks, because the technique undermines confidence in American products. The technique using what are called zero-day flaws that have never been discovered before were critical to the cyber attacks that the United States and Israel launched on Iran in the effort to slow down its nuclear program. I just think that it's about time that this, you need a court to tell you this is unconstitutional when people have been screaming from the mountaintops that this is unconstitutional for a year now. Actually, probably less than a year now. It hasn't even been a year. And then you want to call Snowden a traitor. And I just think, it's funny because if you listen to Fox News when this all came out, they were calling Snowden a traitor too. And now they've changed their tune. I mean, come on, folks, really? I mean, I was like, I almost threw something at the television the day I heard them. I don't know. I think it was in the morning. It was one of the morning shows. I don't watch Fox a lot, so I'm not sure which morning show it was. But there was a blonde chick on there. She really made me mad because she was just talking about how he was a traitor of his country. No, ma'am, he is not a traitor. The folks that got this going deserve to be told on, because that's what Americans are supposed to do when something is unconstitutional. They're supposed to bring it to the attention. And that's what he did. So on CNN Piers Morgan Live Tuesday, speaking of Obama, in a brief discussion about President Obama, Barbara Walters actually said, "We thought that he was going to be, I shouldn't say this as Christmas time, but the next Messiah." Let's listen to what she says. This is just absolutely insane. I think that
you have interviewed every president of my lifetime. Why is Obama facing so much opposition now? Why is he struggling so much to really fulfill the great flame of ambition and excitement that he was elected on originally in 2009?
Well, you've touched on it to a degree. He made so many promises. We thought that he was going to be, I shouldn't say this at Christmas time, but the next Messiah. And the whole Obamacare, or whatever you want to call that, a formidable, affordable health act, it just hasn't worked for him. And he's stumbled around on it. And people feel very disappointed because they expected more. It's very difficult when the expectations for you are very high. You're almost better off when they're low and then they rise and rise. His were very high and they've dropped. But he still has several years to go. What does he have, 3 years more, Piers?
oh my God, could you imagine what he's going to do this country in 3 years? And Barbara Walters, I'm sorry, I used to look up to you, but now I just think you're a schmuck. You've got to be, but you know what? She's right. Because those idiots right there, they put him on this pedestal thinking he was going to be the Messiah. And he was going to change everything. This guy's a community organizer woman. What on this planet made you think that he was going to be doing anything different than anyone else was? Because he was black? Because he's the first African-American president? He's going to change America? He actually has made this country worse. Our country is more divided on race than it's ever been, and more white Americans voted for this guy. And it's not because prejudice exists, it's because he has brought it just out in people, because even African Americans are prejudiced. So I'm not just talking about a white prejudices against blacks. I'm talking about the other way around. And you cannot deny it, because I hear people talking about white people. You see these hidden camera things, and it's just sickening. It is sickening that we can't get along as just people. Because let me tell you something, folks. White people, black people, purple people, green people, whatever color they are, there are stupid people in every race. And stupidness is a race all on its own. And that is something I'm prejudiced against. Yes, I'm prejudiced against stupid people. Doesn't matter your skin color. Your brain activity up here is what I'm prejudiced against. And if it's not good, and if it's stupid, then yeah, I'm going to have a problem with you. But anyway, I can't believe she said this. It was just absolutely stupid. Now on to this India thing, because Kerry is a moron. How do you express regret to India over this diplomat who, okay, first of all, she lied on an immigration form for her maid. She said that she was going to pay her maid minimum wage. No, she was not. Her maid comes and says she was only paying her $3 an hour, $3 and something an hour. Let me find exactly the story. But anyway, so all this stuff happened. So let me read this story. The U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry called a top Indian official to express regret about the case of an Indian diplomat strip searched after her arrest in New York last week on charges including visa fraud. The State Department said on Wednesday. Kerry's call to the Indian National Security Advisor disclosed by the U.S. State Department aimed to defuse a diplomatic crisis sparked by the December 12th arrest of Devyani Kabragad. I can't, it's Indian, come on people. On charges of visa fraud and underpaying her nanny as an Indian national. India has been furious over in its response to what it considers the degrading treatment of a senior diplomat by the United States, a country it sees as a close friend, and retaliated on Tuesday by moving security barriers at the U.S. Embassy in New Delhi. The barriers would have offered some protection against a suicide bomb attack. As a father of two daughters about the same age as this woman, the secretary emphasizes with the sensitivities we are hearing from India about the events that unfolded with her arrest. State Department spokeswoman Mary Harf said in a written statement referring to the Indian diplomat. In his conversation with National Security Advisor, he expressed his regret as well as his concern that we not only allow this unfortunate public issue to hurt our close and vital friendship with India. White House spokesman Jay Carney said the administration is looking into the arrest to ensure that all standard procedures were followed and that every opportunity for courtesy was extended. Not that, they were acted stupidly. Isn't that what he said before about that whole Boston thing because it was one of his professor friends? He said the police officer was racist. Well, that's one of the examples from the last story, see? The White House has told Indian officials it expects Delhi will fulfill all its obligations for the safety and security of U.S. diplomats in India. Okay, so I get that part. But what I don't get, this woman, okay, now India has moved her to another position where she gets now full amnesty. She wasn't getting full amnesty before. They took her out of that position and put her in another position. Why don't you just take her home with you? Because you know what? The women in India are treated horribly. Actually, they are one of the worst countries for where women get treated horribly. So how are you going to come over and tell us how to, when this woman committed a crime, okay? She committed a crime on our soil. Our soil. Now, did she deserve to get strip searched? I don't know. But don't sit there and defend a woman who committed a crime, lying, not paying her nanny, which is our laws. We have minimum wage laws for a reason. And then she just thinks she is immune to those as well. Anyway, I just think that it's absolutely ridiculous that we are apologizing to them because she broke our law, and if they follow procedure, they follow procedure. And strip search is not a cavity search; it's not the same thing. They basically do it for your protection, so that you don't hang so you don't have anything hidden, drugs. But they didn't do a cavity search, so you could have something taped to. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous that we are having to explain our our procedures to another country. And I think it's also ridiculous that she's not deported. She's causing all this trouble. Why? If you don't like our country and our processes, first of all, don't break the law. Second of all, get your ass home. Go. Bye. See ya. We don't need you here. People over there are taking all our jobs anyway. So anyway, lastly but not least, because I had a lot of stuff to talk about and we've run through it, but I've got more stuff and I'll just talk about it tomorrow's show. But until last week, a Utah state statute declared that a person is guilty of bigamy when knowing he has a husband or wife, or knowing the other person has a husband or wife, the person purports to marry another person or cohabits with another person. In the new ruling, a judge has declared that while marrying Anne, when already married to Sue, can remain a criminal offense, cohabitating with Anne and Sue cannot. Formal polygamy stays illegal, It's illegal, but so long as polygamous family doesn't try to acquire state recognition for the multi-spousal agreement, they can live together, have sex as they please, and procreate without running afoul of any laws. The winner of the case is the star of the reality TV show Sister Wives, reportedly has 4 wives and 17 children, but only one of those wives is married to him in the eyes of the state. Anyway, so think about that, and hit me up on my Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Val Emmons, or check out my website, www.valemmons.com. See you tomorrow.